video interrupted. Would you like to? It was. It's already live again.
Good afternoon and welcome. On this now is the fourth Sunday of Easter. This is our third time that we're kind of gathering together. A little bit of update for things and perhaps reflection on things. One of the questions that came out last week was, when do we think that we will be able to be back in church together? And I'm afraid that we don't have an easy answer for that. And if you think about it, the reason why we will not be able to be together too quickly is the difficulty of separation and how we would work that. So those of you who are looking for an immediate answer to this, I'm afraid we don't have one. On the other hand, we did hear just this past Friday, that the schools are now closed for the remainder of the school year. I'm sure there are a lot of young people who are terribly disappointed, and probably their parents along with them, because they're now going to have more family than they've ever had before. But I would like to begin by mentioning that this week in many of our systems is Teachers Appreciation Week, and we're very appreciative here for our teachers at our elementary school, St. Mary's, but also other members of our parish who are teachers in other different schools. And teachers, and those of you now who are home instructing your children, certainly appreciate the importance of teachers. In fact, although this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, this coming Tuesday, the 5th, is Teachers Appreciation Day, along with the fact that it's also Cinco de Mayo Day that Father will talk about a little bit later. And it is also, by the way, World Environment Day. And those of you who have been outside on a day like this perhaps can better appreciate the environment and God's creation. So kind of plant a tulip or something on a Tuesday in remembrance of that. When we look a little bit at teaching, one of the traditions here at St. Mary's has been what is known as the Hope Ribbon Day. It is the day on which we give to our to-be graduated 8th graders ribbons. Those of you probably who went to school remember getting ribbons. Our colors are blue and white, of course, honoring Mary. And what we traditionally have had is a special mass in which the graduates to be receive their ribbons. Well, obviously we can't do that, but what we will be doing this Friday at the regular 12 o'clock celebration is honoring our 18 young students who will be graduating this year with a special recognition. So those of you who tune in for our Mass it will be a little different. We will have some representatives from the school here and an opportunity to honor them. So we hope that those of you who are watching, and if you're not watching, that you who are grandparents get after your kids, tell them that this is going to happen, and they will be notified through the school. So it's one way to recognize these young men and women as they are getting ready to move on and be graduated next month in June. Now, one of the major fundraising activities of our parish, of course, is the mega raffle. I'm sure that many of you have still this brightly colored green, I think it's green, reminder of the mega raffle. We still are in need of selling approximately 200 mega raffle tickets. Now that means that we have sold close to 500, and that's good, but we need to make this a success. So they give me this wonderful opportunity to argue with you the pitch that can you sell some further mega raffle tickets. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, what will I give Mother for Mother's Day, particularly grandmother? And my mother will always say, I don't need anything, I got everything I need. Well, she would not be opposed to winning, no matter what people say, a significant sum of money. So wouldn't this be a wonderful gift to give to maybe Grandma this coming Sunday, a mega ticket raffle? So you can certainly get those, mail in your requests, along with your money, of course, and we'll be glad to make sure that you get one of those tickets by Mother's Day so that you can say, Mom, I talked to them and they promised me, if you can believe them, that this is the winning ticket. Now, if you believe that, I have a bridge that I'd like to sell you, but all right. But maybe that's one way. There are certainly other ways to help kind of make sure that this is a success. As you know, the drawing will be on Friday, June 12th. You will not be able to be there, but you will be able to see it. So that's my big push for today in terms of finances. Now, another thing that I know is regular is the monthly draw, which is a $5 donation, and each month we draw, and if you win, you get $250. Well, unbeknownst to them, I did not know that we were still doing that, and the number of participants did not equal the amount of money that we would be paying out. So I thought it was disavowed, but here's what we're doing. If you sent in for April, well, we'll take you in the drawing. But for an additional $5, send in the May one. We'll have one drawing, and we'll give as the prize $300 rather than the $250. So for those of you who are interested in this, envelopes are mailed out to some of you. They are available at the entrances to the church and the rectory. If you still need one, you could stop by and pick one up anytime during the week. Now, somehow I'm getting to be the plugger of finances here. And again, may I take the opportunity to thank those of you who continually send in your contributions. They are very, very important and very, very helpful, of course, for keeping St. Mary's going. And I have to say that many of you have been most faithful in this, and I can only thank you for that. So those are my basic kind of announcements thus far. The other kind of tradition on Mother's Day is the crowning of Our Lady's statue, which is, of course, very beautifully located outside our church. And that, by the way, you can visit any time during the week because you don't have to come inside the church. You can stop and make a visit right there. But we will have the May crowning for this year after the 10 o'clock Mass on Mother's Day next week. So you can look forward to seeing that. And finally, just a word, I'm very sorry today, and Sister probably will mention this, would have been the day in which a number of our young third graders would have received communion for the first time. Unfortunately, that is delayed. We can only hope that as the summer months unfold, we can find a time and a day in which they can receive the Lord for the first time. But in the meantime, keep up your studies, keep up your prayers, and I'm sure that our Lord will support and help you as as that takes place. So I'll let Sister now give a little bit of information.
As I listen to Father Paul, I see our parish is pretty alive during this pandemic. There's so much going on here. In terms of that First Communion, the other thing I would just add to that is that parents, if you would sit with your children and watch the live streamed liturgy in the comfort of your home, children can really be reinforced to the prayers, and as a family, respond to the prayers, stand when it's time to stand, kneel when it's time to kneel, sing with Andrea if you can. So be a part of that liturgy. Even though it's at home, you can still actively participate with your children. Father mentioned again the monies, and another thing, Catholic Charities, as we know, is still kind of needing to help so many poor in our area. Children, you received a little box before you left, before this pandemic happened. If you have filled the box, you can leave it. I'm sure it'll be safe at the rectory in the entrance. Ring the doorbell if you want when you drop it off, and we'll certainly collect those and count them and let you know how much children of the parish had collected for Catholic Charities. So those boxes that you received, we are still interested in receiving them. Any time through the month of May would be perfectly fine. So we left off last week. We talked about our catechetical program, and we read some messages from some catechists, and we left a few out because we ran out of time. And so I'm going to ask Deacon John now if he would read our message from Jessica, who is one of our third grade catechists.
Sure, Sister. Jessica says, "Hello, students. I miss your smiling faces. I'm sure that you're being great helpers at home. Please keep praying to God daily. Maybe you and your family can have a circle prayer time at home. I pray for good health and happiness for you and your families." Signed, Jessica.
It sounds like a really good idea to do that prayer circle. Will help during these difficult days. I'm sure there's trying times in your families, so turning to the Lord will probably make it a little bit easier for you. And now Peyton Cotter, who is our aide in third grade, young person. She knows how to do these videos, so we're going to ask if we can show Peyton's message to her students now.
Hey guys! Well, this isn't how anyone pictured ending our religion year together. I wish I would have known that our last class together would be the last time I saw you guys. I don't know when you'll be making your first communion, but when you do, I know you will all be more than ready. In times like this, it's more important than ever to stay true to your Catholic faith. Be strong, say your prayers, and be the best you can be. I'm praying for you guys on your first communion day, whenever that may be. Love and miss you all.
Okay, our other third grade catechist is also the sister of Peyton, Chandler, but Chandler just gave a written message for her students, and so Chandler is our other third grade catechist, and this is what she says to her students. "Hello, I really miss you all. I know the current time we are in is very scary and uncertain, but one of the best ways to cope is through connecting with God. I am so saddened that we won't be meeting again this year, and even though we won't be physically together, we can still keep each other in our hearts, thoughts, and prayers. I know you are all probably bored out of your minds, and so am I, but make sure to schedule a time for mind-stimulating activities. For example, I try to play my piano for at least a little while every day. Music, art, exercise, reading, and writing are just a few examples of ways to spend some of your days. I miss each and every one of you so much. Whenever you make your first communion, I know you are all prepared and ready. Make sure you make time to pray and talk with God as often as you can. God bless you all. Be safe and happy. Sincerely, Miss Chandler." She can, as a young person, Chandler's a high school student, she can certainly relate to her students with this, what's it like to be bored and what's it like to, how to use your time. So we thank Chandler for that message. And the fourth grade catechist is the mother of Peyton and Chandler. Kristen also gives a message to her fourth grade students. I have been trying for several days to write this message to my fourth grade Saturday morning faith formation students. The idea I kept coming back to is this. I wish I had known during our last class that it would be our last class. If I had known that, I may have made an extra joke, shown a little more patience, played a game with you, and simply savored our time together more. I had planned for our next class to begin in the church, each of us reflecting on why we attend religion classes, what God means to us, and how we can better serve Him. During this pandemic shutdown, there have been a lot of challenges. Senior picture challenge, physical fitness challenge, dance challenge, etc. I challenged my fourth grade students to adopt a new religious habit. For example, my family, I am embarrassed to say, just started saying grace before dinner. Before everything shut down, everyone in my house was going in several different directions, and the four of us didn't often eat dinner together. Now we do. Sitting down together has helped us see that even when life returns to normal, we should slow down and thank God for all He has given us. I encourage you and your family to adopt a new religious habit. Pray before a meal. Take a moment each day to thank God for something. Reach out to someone, family or friend, and ask if they need anything, or simply to say hello. Though I'm sorry the year ended like it did, I am happy we had the year together. I enjoyed getting to know each and every one of you. You are bright and fun young people. I enjoyed being your teacher, and I hope I was able to bring you a little closer to God. I think as I read these messages from all of our catechists, I see how very dedicated they are and very caring toward the students and wanting the students really to come to know God and be closer to Jesus. So it brought me great joy to be able to read their messages and also share them with you.
We did say that we would like to entertain questions from any of you who are watching, and I did get a letter from one of our parishioners who said, well, you don't give us a chance to ask questions, so I'll write one for you. One of the questions she asked was, what about the paper bins? Well, I hadn't thought about that, but our paper bins are still here, and as you guys are clearing out a lot of paper at home probably now that you've had laying around for a long time, bring it over and dump it in. They have picked it up, so that would be something that is possible to do. I'm not so sure about clothing for the St. Vincent de Paul boxes. Although I think they are picking them up. I'm not sure on that one. And the other observation that the letter writer said, what could we do? Well, and I think we've heard this before, but I simply pass it on to you. She said, could you maybe make a phone call to some neighbor or friend that you haven't really have been in contact with recently? And that might be a nice gesture, especially if that person is not used to getting messages like that or doesn't have the media of email and that. It is a concern if there are parishioners who do not use email or are not in all the other kind of Facebook, Twiddle kind of things, just how to get in touch with them. I am concerned there may be parishioners there that we just don't know what their health condition is or what's going on in their lives. If you have suggestions on how we might get in touch with them and who they are, that certainly would be helpful. And Mr. Over, who of course is our parish financial wizard, has reminded me that I need to tell you that you can now make donations online. So that the details for that, again, you need to go to our webpage. We'll tell you how you can make your contribution. If you don't want to mail it in, if you don't want to drop it off, if you want to do it the new way that things are being done, we now are able to do that. So please take a little note to Mr. Over to say that I did mention this to you. I always get stuck with these things. Thanks.
You know, if I might just add, I try to do what Father Paul just said. I don't do it too much, but yesterday I happened to call a 95-year-old parishioner. She sits in church right on the Blessed Mother side. And I see her at 10 o'clock Mass all the time. So I wonder how Ann is doing. So I called her yesterday just to see how she's doing. She says, Sister, Monday is my 96th birthday. So, and she was so happy. She said, Sister, call me again sometime. It's so nice to hear somebody's voice. So if you do need people to call, just let us know and we'll help you out. So happy birthday, Ann. Next. Okay, I guess,
So now-
any other questions? Any questions?
Deacon
for
John,
Father?
don't you have anything to add today?
You didn't
Quiet
just turn
today.
it. No other questions at this
No
point?
questions yet.
No questions,
Okay.
but I think there are some parishioners also that are calling us, like, they're telling us that some are in the hospital. They don't mention their names, but they're asking for prayers. And I receive also personal messages also asking for prayers. So most of the time that I receive is about asking for prayers. And as I've said last week also, we are continually praying for them, especially in our daily mass in here. And if they need us, we are just call away. Never stop calling us. We're here. Just like Father Paul, he is a good shepherd in our parish. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. Yeah.
Also, just a reminder, last week when we read Allison's note, who works at Mercy Hospital, she said if anybody would like to write a note to someone because they can't have visitors, you can leave them in the rectory and just say, for Mercy Hospital. And Allison, I'm sure, will pick them up and take them to work with her. So if anybody does, children need a project, please, there are people who don't hear from anybody or have no one who can visit them at least, and maybe that would help them.
To pick up on what Father Mario said, if there are people who would like us to have their name put on our prayer list, as you read the bulletin, you will see there are a number of names who are regularly on our prayer list. If you would like names included, please just send them in. Let me know who you are, and we will be glad to include you on there. And if, as you read over, as I look at that, if you read over that list of people who are on our prayer chain, if there are people there who are no longer in need of prayer, I know we're all in need of prayer, but I mean in the sense of particularly healing prayer, also let us know. Some names of people there have moved on, either left the parish or moved on in other ways. So just a thought on that. Again, you get a list of all of that when you get our bulletin each week. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Father.
You think about personal experience about your uncle visiting a nursing home.
Well, for this next part of the little time here, we're going to get I think maybe 3 minutes apiece or whatever to share a little bit about, if you'd like to share about what's going on in our lives. And I know that many of you have been supporting me and praying for my Uncle Gene through these last couple of months. I want you to know that he passed away. He's been in Garden Gate, and I'll tell you, they have been wonderful. Last week's Saturday, Thursday, he took a turn for the worse, and they said there's a rapid decline. So they called me to visit him. We're not supposed to visit, but they said that because of his condition, so I did go to see him briefly. And my family, this past Sunday, we were all together in his window, and we talked to him, and he couldn't speak anymore, but he would go like this with his hands. So we knew that he heard us, and that he felt our support and our love, and we all went to the window individually and kind of talked to him a little bit and expressed our love for him. And so got a call then on Tuesday that he was very low and probably would not survive the night. So 11:30, he passed away. And it was so different. It was so different during this time to lose somebody because you couldn't really have a wake and you couldn't gather, and it was just so, you want to plan a funeral, but you can't. And so it's very difficult. And my brothers from out of town who were very close to him couldn't come back, couldn't come to town. And so we just kind of had a little, Father Paul helped us with a little service at the cemetery and buried him yesterday. Just such a mixed feeling. Happy for him, because living in four walls and not having family and not having people to visit him had to be very, very difficult. So I think it was just his time to go. And his legs were so very, very bad. And his big thing was, when I get to heaven, I want to run again and I want to play baseball. So it's a beautiful day we have today, thinking about my uncle running around heaven playing baseball and enjoying his family and enjoying all that God had in store for him. So it's been hard, but kind of mixed feelings too. When somebody is so ill, you kind of want them to be freed of what's going on with them. It was strange in this pandemic time.
No, it's true. I heard several stories about it. It's hard for them to even just visiting, and especially also when they pass away, because the agony of the patient, they died alone. Yeah. So that's the hardest thing that we can experience in this time of pandemic, when someone passed away.
What they did at that nursing home was they had COVID section and a non-COVID section. I'm sure there's no walls up to keep the germs apart, but they still tried to protect those who didn't have COVID. And my uncle didn't. He passed away naturally. He just kind of stopped eating and just kind of stopped breathing after a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you, Sister. It's so exciting because we are now in the month of May. And May 1st, we celebrate St. Joseph the Worker. And we have two feast days, St. Joseph the Worker and St. Joseph as the husband of Mary. So there's only one Joseph in that two feasts. And it is interesting because that was the first time I heard about May pool that Father Paul was mentioned. Technically, we cannot show you the pictures, or supposedly pictures that we can show, because when Father Paul is talking about May pool, he's talking about a painted pool decorated with flowers, around with which people traditionally dance on May Day, and holding long ribbons and attached at the top of the pool. So when Father Paul asked me about maple, so I said, maple tree? He's like, no, that's not the one that I'm talking about. So that's the first time. So if you want to research on that, that's the first time I heard about it.
Well, the custom started because in many European countries, it marked the beginning of summer. So it was a kind of custom for summer. But also it was a kind of fertility rite. They hoped that as the earth opened up, maybe the human womb would open up a little bit too. So all of that's connected there.
So if you have any questions about that, you may ask Father Paul, or you can ask it to me. I can send it to him.
Very good.
I'm still learning because I have so many things that I heard for the first time here in the U.S. And of course, the second thing that I learned during this month of May is the Cinco de Mayo. So the Cinco de Mayo, I tried to look at it, and it's about, Father Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, it's about, it is an annual celebration held on May 5th, obviously, Cinco de Mayo. The date is observed to commemorate the Mexican army's victory over the French Empire at the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862. Am I right, Father Paul? Do you have any additional with that?
Yeah, no, it's a big day for the Mexican community, yeah.
Okay.
In general, yeah.
Well, I'm not really aware of what is Cinco de Mayo, but I'm aware of margarita.
See, he knows what a margarita is. Doesn't know about a maypole, but...
That's right, and the taco. So if you are going to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, prepare a margarita and taco. That's a good idea. How about you, Deacon John? Is there any plan for Cinco de Mayo?
I don't have any plans for Cinco de Mayo, no.
Okay. And as we notice also this month of May, flowers are starting to bloom. Sounds like back to life. And if you notice at the intro video in our daily mass, or especially during this weekend masses, you can see the beautiful flowers in front of the church that's in front of the rectory. And it will only last for how many days?
It's gone already.
It's gone already, right? So we were able to capture that picture, and if you want to look at it again, it's our intro video in our weekend masses. It's so beautiful. So There's a beautiful picture, and time of May, time to walk around, and you can see the trees back to life again. So I think if we look into our own life, I hope and pray that this springtime we will back to life again, back to normal, a new you, a greater person. And it's interesting also in May, in the Philippines, we have a lot of tradition. So we have this Flores de Mayo. So we honor May as the month of Mary, of course here in the U.S. also. Every day the children will offer a flower to Mary as they sing a song, and there's a word, you have to complete it in the altar, there's a word, Ave Maria. So the second also that we celebrate in the Philippines is the Santa Cruzan. So we celebrate Saint Elena. It's about, she was the one who found the cross of Christ. So we celebrate that, so we process. So many churches celebrating that one, but this time I don't think we were able to celebrate. And next is, I just want to say thank you for those who are following with us on Facebook. I think we are increasing of followers. Check on us, so thank you. And you may share our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And of course, it can be found also in our website. And again, please send us your prayer requests. Just like Father Paul, if you want to mention your names, just send it to us or give us a call. And then someone said to me or asked a personal question, what advice I can give. So I'm sorry I cannot also share it on Facebook in here. I have a picture. But I posted it on my Facebook account, and I said, there's a picture of mine holding a cup of a mug, and then I said, look for the silver lining. So that's your goal. And I said that in this month of May, look for the silver lining, refocus and stay focused. Life is like the lens of the camera. Sometimes all we need to do is to focus the subject and the object you want to capture and adjust your lens from there. Our lens might be the way we live our life or our lifestyle. This time of pandemic, it's time to adjust our lens so that we can have a better picture of our life. So that's my advice. And of course, I said many things yesterday, faith sharing among the family. Yeah, that's the advice I can give, Father Paul.
Well, there are two visuals that I would suggest that are kind of contemporary to the pandemic experience. If you have a St. Mary's calendar, if you turn to the month of May, or if you're already at May, isn't that interesting? It's a picture of Jesus meeting Mary Magdalene, but he seems to be saying to her, keep your distance. And I think that that of course is
6 feet away.
It's one of the famous paintings, but look again and see that if that's not what he's saying. And the second picture I hope that you will show now is as you know, one of the most famous paintings of Michelangelo is found in the Sistine Chapel ceiling, in which it pictures God as creating and reaching out his hand to touch Adam to bring life. Notice what he is pictured as doing here.
I saw the picture, that was so funny. I love it. So thank you also for those who are sending cards to us and giving us the assurance that they are praying for us. So thank you, and you may notice also they have a new look hair. So thank you to Heidi for offering her time to give a haircut. So I don't know if Father Paul is interested with that.
But don't ask who she is, because we don't want to get in any trouble here.
So that's all I have.
And just so you know, this time is for you to send us questions.
Yes.
And Father Mario said about, well, we have pictures online of the flowers and stuff around our parish. Why don't you send in pictures of your house, what you've got planted? Maybe send us some information on what you're planting now, because it's spring. It's time to start planting some things. You can't plant corn yet. It's still too cold, but you can plant a few things. And then tell me what you're doing. I'm stuck at home with Barb. I should say Barb is stuck at home with me. And we're doing a lot of stuff around the house. So start telling us what you're doing. Are you doing any painting in the house? Are you doing any remodeling? Are you doing gardening? Have you started your tomato plants yet in the house? Just send some of that information in, or a picture if you don't want to say anything else. And if you don't know how to do that, get a hold of Father Mario. He'll tell you how to put it up on Facebook.
Yes, I can help. But how's the life at home? Is it okay? Good?
Yeah,
or-
I'm in the basement, Barb's upstairs, so there's no problem.
Once again, this afternoon, we thank you for joining with us. Keep us in your prayers, and we will keep you in our prayers as we enter another full week of a new month. But things will be looking better. Don't lose hope. And I know they give all these same kind of keep safe and that, but do keep your spirits up. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you soon in real life. And for now, goodbye for all of us.
Thank you.